Good morning, this is Lin. I'm going to present about the case study of Peter. Peter is a 14-year-old boy who was diagnosed as Asperger's syndrome, which is a type of autism spectrum disorder. Many of the signs and symptoms of ASD are presented, first of all, in terms of interaction with others. Peter has difficulties in understanding others' intentions, may take things literally, and misunderstand sarcasm or metaphor. According to what was written in the case study, he has great difficulty interpreting facial expressions and in recognizing the emotions of others. He is unable to interpret sarcasm or understand other non-literal communication, such as jokes. He interprets other people's behavior as purposefully directed at him, even if it's not. An accidental nod from a peer, if not immediately accompanied by an apology, is likely to be interpreted as a purposeful attack and be met with a vengeful outburst from Peter. Secondly, his lack of awareness and understanding of socially expected behavior. Even in the classroom, Peter can sometimes become violent, upsetting tables and throwing things across the room in an uncontrollable manner, according to the case study. Thirdly, he is unable to adapt style of communication to social situations. According to the case study, his language patterns has always been more like an adult other than a child speech. Also, he has social isolation and apparent preference for aloneness. According to the case study, Peter has a very low tolerance of crowds and noise, often becoming very distressed in public places. Also, he is aggressive and disruptive. He always has violent outbursts against other children and staff. This pattern was repeated at various intervals throughout his primary education. He also upset tables and throwing things across the room in an uncontrollable manner. Peter also has long-standing difficulties in reciprocal social communication and interaction. That is, he has few close friends and reciprocal relationships. Peter assumes that other people know what he knows and can become extremely frustrated when others do not follow his thoughts or behave as expected, which causes Peter cannot get along with his peers and thus get intentional thoughts of his peers group. In terms of spoken language, his responses to others can seem rude and inappropriate. Because he always has outbursts toward staffs and peers. In terms of unusual interests and rigid behaviors, he has unusual profile of skills. He is an extremely able learner in subjects he enjoys, such as science, IT, and electronics. He takes apart electronic equipment, catalogs all the components, and uses them to construct novel devices, which shows that he has preference for highly specific interests and hobbies, but is only motivated to read for actual information in his key areas of interest. Also, he has overreaction to sensory stimuli, because he has low tolerance toward loud places and distressed himself in public, according to the case study. Move on to the theories. The theory of mind was proposed by Craig 1975. The theory of mind is the ability to understand and take into account another individual's mental state. However, Peter assumes that other people know what he knows and can become extremely frustrated when others do not follow his thoughts or behave as expected. And Peter also has great difficulty interpreting facial expressions and in recognizing the emotions of others. He's also unable to interpret sarcasm or understand other non-literal communication, such as jokes. This shows that Peter lack of theory of mind. And the theory of weak central coherence was proposed by Jutta Fries 1989. It attempts to explain the difficulty that people with ASD have in integrating information into a single coherent. Thus, their attention tends to focus on small details, which actually has many advantages. For example, Peter is an extremely able learner in subjects he enjoys, such as science, IT, and in electronics. He takes apart electronic equipment, catalogs all the components, and uses them to construct novel devices. He has also connected the computers in the home into a functioning network. Peter also suffers from executive dysfunction, which include inability to self-monitor emotions and behavior. According to the case study, even in the classroom, Peter can sometimes become violent, upsetting tables and throwing things across the room in an uncontrollable manner. Also, his outburst toward staff and his peers can also shows this. Executive dysfunction also includes difficulty dealing with frustration or setbacks. Peter assumes that other people know what he knows and can become extremely frustrated when others do not follow his thoughts or behave as expected. Move on to the environmental factors. Environmental factors can help us explain and understand Peter's special educational needs. Peter has a very low tolerance of crowds and noise, often becoming very distressed in public places. The busy social environment of a secondary school presents him with problems as his anxiety becomes raised in this setting. And because he can't get along with his peers, he always got intentional thoughts of his peer group, which exacerbated and complicated Peter's situation. With referring to the issues stated above, I have some recommendations to support Peter. So a smaller and separate classroom or a preferential seat away from distraction can be provided to Peter to lower his anxiety. And the environment of classroom should be well manipulated to prevent sudden loud sounds, movement, distraction, and lights. Projects and activities related to Peter's area of interest can help him academically, but more importantly, to help him lower his anxiety by letting him do what he wants. And teachers should also pair him with lunch buddies or other friendship group or set up a buddy system to help Peter with social skills. Also, school-wide training in prevention of bullying and teasing should also be conducted so that his peers will learn to respect and help Peter. And also, I noticed that in the case study, between Peter's primary school and secondary school, there's no help with the transition. So I think IEP should be very helpful to work with the family and help him with transition as well as further improvement. And these are the reference. Thank you for listening.